So what I'm going to do today is walk you through step one of how to actually grow sweet potatoes. And the very first step is you need to have a sweet potato saved. And I've got one here that I actually cut in two. There is the first half, and here is the second half. Now what I'm showing you is several steps because I've already started to grow the slips. Now in order to grow sweet potatoes, you have to grow slips. And I'm sitting outside at my little container garden, so if you hear yard work taking place, it's because, I'm outside. But I'm going to speak loudly so that you can hear what I'm saying. So, like I was saying, you have to grow slips in order to grow sweet potatoes. Now, starting the slips is very easy. All you have to do is simply take a sweet potato and you cut it in two, or you just keep it whole and place it into a little bit of soil. What I did here, after it was cut, this is one half, and then of course I have the other half right here. And this has been about 3 weeks since they've been planted in here. They're literally just kind of submerged in about maybe quarter to half an inch of soil. It's not completely buried, but it is making contact with the soil. And like I said, this is about 3 weeks of growth. So I have maybe 7 slips here that are going to be removed so that I can start the actual root section of the sweet potato part. What the next step for this is to remove these slips from the sweet potato, and then I'm going to place those slips into some water, and after about 7 days there will be some roots which will then be placed into soil, and those roots will become sweet potatoes. So you want the slips to be, I'd say, about 6 inches in height before you remove them from the sweet potato. So these ones are at the optimal height right now, and I think I have maybe 3 or 4 on here that I'll be removing. And then on the second one, I think I have maybe 4 that I'll be removing for a total of 7. And I'm going to walk you through each step. But I just wanted to share this part with you. So like I said, all you really need is a sweet potato. Let me move my finger so it'll focus. All you really need is a sweet potato. You cut it in half, and it doesn't have to be a big one. Cut that in half or keep it whole and place it into some soil. Water it maybe every couple of days, and you will see this growth that comes from it. And this is what we will use to grow more sweet potatoes. These are called slips. And next step, I said, is going to be removing these from the potato so that we can put them into some water to start the root system. I'm going to try to keep the focus right here, but this is a close-up of the stem, and you can see that some of the roots have are already trying to form. So this is the perfect time for me to go ahead and remove this from the potato, place it into some water so that it can really get going, and then I can plant them afterwards. But this is where the roots are going to start coming from. So you can see that's right there on the stem. And I will continue to show you the update as I get these into the next stage. Growing sweet potatoes is so easy and so satisfying, and if people realize just how easy it is, they'll probably be growing sweet potatoes themselves. You do not need to have a huge garden to grow sweet potatoes. I'm going to show you how to grow them in containers, which I've done numerous times. So I'm going to be sharing with you all of the different steps on how to grow sweet potatoes in containers. Now if you do have room to grow sweet potatoes in the ground, then by all means you're going to use these same steps, except you're going to omit the part about growing it in containers and simply put them in the ground after you prepare your soil. But you don't need a ton of space I'm going to show you how to grow them in containers, and the ones that we're going to be using are grow bags. We're going to be using grow bags, and I can show you how to use those recyclable or the reusable bags that are made of canvas, or you can simply find sweet potato sacks and you can grow them that way. But there are numerous options for containers. Okay, so don't let that be a reason to stop you from growing your own sweet potatoes. Okay. So what I showed you earlier was the how to actually start the sweet potato slips, and what I'm going to do now is show you how to remove them from the potato, and the next step is going to be putting them into some water so that the roots will start to grow, because that is the next step. If you don't have the roots, then you can't get sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes actually start from the roots that we get from these particular slips. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is just how to simply remove them, and some of them are about 6 to 7 inches, and that's the height that you want them to be before you remove them. If they're short, like these ones in here, you don't want to remove those because those are not going to be good for starting slips. You want these nice long ones. And let me show you the other one. This has a few on there as well. So you want these nice long pieces to start slips. And you can probably see, bring it a little bit closer. You can see the roots. Some of the roots are already wanting to start right here. And you can see some there as well. So this is going to be probably a few days before we get some nice good roots on these. And I will show you that step as well. So what I'm going to do now is remove these little pieces, actually the longer ones, from the plant, and I leave these to continue growing a little bit more and put them into some water. Alright, so all you're going to do is to remove them is simply get down into here, and you're going to literally just break it off from the potato. This one actually has like 2 pieces going close together. So here we go. And all I did was just break it off. And I have 2 pieces here. And you can see that the roots are already wanting to grow. So all I'm going to do now is just literally place these into a container of water, and over the next few days they'll start with some roots. And I'll continue to remove these, and I will share with you the progress over the next few days, and then the next step certainly when we start to put them into the soil to start growing some more sweet potatoes. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and show you this because this part was very close to the soil in the container, and you can see where some of the roots have already started. This is what we're aiming for, is to have a nice root system, and this is what will actually grow more sweet potatoes. Now some of these are long enough that I could put into the soil, but I like to have them quite long. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back and put it into some water and allow the roots to grow a little bit longer. But this is the root system that I was talking about that we were trying to get going by removing them. Here's one that I removed, and I'm going to put this into some water. But since this already has some roots, they're not quite long enough yet. So I put it back into some water, and in a few days this will be ready for planting. Now we're growing sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes take about 4 months to actually mature. So this is not a plant that if you're used to instant gratification, this is not it. But actually growing your own crop of sweet potato is very satisfying. So I'll bring you back to the next step as we progress on this, and show you what the root system, what a nice healthy root system looks like, and then also showing you how we put them into, get the container ready for planting. Okay, and we're going to be growing container sweet potatoes, but if you do have the space to put them in the ground, by all means do so, but I'm going to be doing the container sweet potatoes. Okay, so I went ahead and I removed each of the little pieces from the potato. What I'm left with are these, and I'm going to let them continue to grow, not for much longer, because like I said, it takes about 4 months to get a good crop of sweet potatoes. So we're looking at September, because we really need the hot weather. Sweet potatoes is a hot weather crop, so we really need to optimize that hot season. We're getting ready to go into summer right now, so September is going to be when we harvest this particular crop. So I'm gonna let these continue to grow and see how they do. But for now, we have about 7 or 8 slips, which will give us a nice little crop of sweet potatoes. So here's one that I'm going to be putting into another container, but we have quite a few containers here ready to go. And for these smaller bottles, I just put 1 slip in there because that's going to be enough space for it to really develop a good root system. You don't want to crowd them. In this bigger container, I think I have 2 or maybe 3 pieces in here, and that's enough for that size as well. And you want to check the water periodically because it's going to take about maybe 5 to 7 days for a good root system to form. So you want to check the water every day just to make sure that it's not growing mold or anything, because the last thing you want to do is to start your crop off with, not a healthy system. So change the water. If it gets really murky, just put some clean water in and just let the root system continue to grow. And I will be back to show you what the next step is once the roots have grown. See you soon. Alright, so the last time I left off, I was sharing with you how I had removed the slips from the sweet potato and I'd placed them into some containers of water. And this is what they now look like. You see that nice root system in there? This is what you're aiming for, because this is what new sweet potatoes will be growing from. All of those roots will make new sweet potatoes. Let me share with you a few others. You can see it's still got that nice green at the top. But look at that root system. This is what you want when you're growing sweet potatoes. Those nice, pretty slips in there with that root system. So I've got quite a few jars. Look at this one. I mean, this is filled. So this is what you want when you're creating slips to grow sweet potatoes. That nice root system. And once they go into the soil, then they start to spread out and swell into new sweet potatoes. So let me see if I can find one more. I've got quite a few of them, so I think I have about 5 grow bags that I'll be using. These sweet potatoes will be grown in containers. See if I can get that to focus a little bit more. I do have a few more. When I removed the last slips from the sweet potato, a few more started to grow, and these have gotten to be pretty long. So what I'm going to do here is I think I'm just simply going to put this entire thing into soil, and the reason is that I've got a lot of roots actually growing at the bottom. So if I put this into some soil, all of this will now become more sweet potatoes, because some of the pieces were very close to the soil. Let me see if I can find. Like this one right here was very close to the soil, so those roots actually started to grow into the soil and they will become more sweet potatoes. So this entire thing will be put into a growing basket or a grow bag to make new sweet potatoes, because it's already got some really good root system all around here, and you can see the vines are really beginning to stretch out. Let me find, just knocked one over. And here's another one. And you can see just how long this vine has gotten. And that's because, again, the root system has already started to make new sweet potatoes in here. You can see that really good root system that's forming. So this piece of sweet potato as well will also go into the ground. I'm going to see if I could lift it up, but I might disturb some of the roots, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. So this entire thing will be taken out of here and placed into a grow bag to make new sweet potatoes. So typically I would have removed these pieces right here. Like this one is really long, and I usually wouldn't let it get that long, but the reason it grew that long is because you can see that it actually was very close to the soil down in here. So it started to grow into the soil, and this root system is already connected there. So I'll just place this entire thing into some more soil. And we have some more slips right here that are trying to grow, and all of that again will just start growing in the soil. So I've got a few slips that I'm going to be putting in the ground. Each of these slips will actually go into one separate grow bag. I will put this one into its own grow bag because it has a lot of roots on there and it needs a space. I will put this container into a separate grow bag, and so forth, because these what I'll do is I'll spread the roots out as I place it on the soil to give them enough space to run in the soil. All right, so I'll share that next step with you, and that will be most likely within another few minutes. Okay, so here I am. I'm about to get these slips planted, and I'm going to be using containers like I mentioned before. The first time I grew sweet potatoes, I actually used a heavy plastic container. What I'm going to be using today for these are some grow bags. They are not huge, but I do have quite a few slips, so each individual slip will go into a grow bag. These do have some large holes on the side, as you can see here. So what I did was I lined it with some paper so that the hole is blocked, and there's also some really good drainage holes on the bottom, so I shouldn't be losing too much soil from these grow bags. It also has a little bit of a peak hole right here, so that at the end I can easily just either empty the bag out, or I can pull up just to kind of get a sneak peek of what's coming. Let me go ahead and open one of these up so you can see. So this is that area, kind of a sneak peek hole, so I can easily just kind of peek in to see what's going on as far as the growth is concerned, but it's not really necessary. If you're doing Irish potatoes, this is also a really good kind of bag to use for that. Let me go ahead and seal that back. And I've got 4 grow bags of this size. Let me go ahead and show you. There are 4 grow bags, and they're not small, but they're not huge anyway, so we get a good crop from each of the slips. But I also have, let me show you one other bag. I also have this bag, this recyclable bag. I'm sure you're familiar with these because there's a lot of them when you go to different grocery stores. So what I'm going to do is, for the bigger slips, I do have one. Actually, no, I think I'm going to end up putting this piece of sweet potato in there because, like I showed you earlier, there's quite a lot of growth going on here. So I think I'm going to just, you can see a lot of the root system. I'm just going to take this whole thing and just bury it into this big bag, which I've already lined. So you can see it's already really starting to take off. So I'm going to go ahead and just plant this full thing, and then I'll have another one back here which is also ready to go in, and I'm just going to go ahead and bury that completely. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and fill these bags with the soil, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and filled the bags, and I want to show you a little tip whenever you're planting sweet potato slips. Fill the bag with the soil, and you want to leave like a little ridge. So see, this is the top of the soil, but there's a little ridge right here where it goes down, and that's where you're going to be placing the slips, so it kind of angles down and gives the roots the downward facing motion. So that's the reason why I have that little bit of a hillside right there, and I've done that in all of these small grow bags. I don't have enough soil to do the big ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and do these right now, and then get a few more bags of soil and a couple more grow bags actually, so that I can complete the two big ones, the two halves of the sweet potatoes that I showed earlier. Here's one of the smaller slips, and I'm going to go ahead and take this out just to give you an idea of what it looks like, and then show you how I plant it into the soil. So this is what it looks like. You can see all of those little roots. There's some really long, some really short. What I'm going to do is spread those apart, and then I'm going to gently lay them onto the soil and bury them. And I'll show you that right now. Okay, so what you want to do is to just gently separate the roots. You don't want them to be clumped together when you put them onto the soil, because then you'll end up with the sweet potatoes all being jammed together. So just gently separate them, and then what you're going to do is just lay them onto the soil, which is why I had the ridge. Just gently spread them, and this is why I'm only putting one slip into each grow bag, because you can see there's a lot of roots, and each of these roots will create a new sweet potato. So that's a lot of sweet potatoes right there, we hope. So I'm going to go ahead and just cover the roots. I'm just going to fill in this side with soil. And that is done. So now we'll just water that in, and every few days we'll give it some water, and we'll see that the leaves will just gradually spread, and after about 3 or 4 months we'll have a nice little harvest of sweet potatoes in here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue filling in the rest of them, and I'll do a separate video when we're doing the harvest, so you'll be able to at least see all of these steps. Alright. Okay, so 4 of the slips have been planted. You can see them here. They've also been watered in to ensure that the roots make contact with the soil. So every couple of weeks or so I'm going to go ahead and record the progress, and then obviously I'll record the harvest in a few months, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure you see this video with all of the different steps. These are just simple grow bags. I'm not sure how many crops you can actually get out of each of the bags, but they seem pretty sturdy, so maybe we can do another crop afterwards. In case you didn't know, sweet potato leaves are edible, so once these start to really take off, you can actually take clippings from the sweet potato leaves and eat them. And I do have a video that I will link in to show you how you can cook sweet potato leaves. But for now, this is just how you plant the sweet potato slips. I hope you've enjoyed this series of steps of growing sweet potatoes in the containers. Just share with me some feedback below in the comments, and if you've grown sweet potatoes as well, how did you grow them? Did you grow them in containers? Did you grow them in the ground? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you again soon. Just a reminder, sweet potatoes are a hot weather crop. Needs lots of sunshine, so make sure you place the grow bags in an area where they're going to get a lot of sun.